What's going on, podcast listeners? My name is Michael Chernow. I am a restaurateur and lifestyle entrepreneur, and I am truly obsessed with living a life better than yesterday through wellness, fitness, and good vibes. I've always wondered if the drive to succeed is something we are born with, or if it's something that is made over time through grit, drive, and perseverance. I get to answer that question exactly, and the goal of this podcast is to talk with people that have absolutely crushed it in life and have inspired me to do the same. This is Born or Made. And I'm going to start recording here. I'm going to wait for that helicopter to fly by.
Yeah, I may get a little, sorry, if you hear my dogs, I apologize. They seem to go nuts on the Amazon guy every time he shows up.
And that's like 6 times a day, right?
Wife and 2 boys.
Yeah, I know it. All right, here we go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Born and Made podcast. Today's guest is a very good buddy. He is the host of the Midlife Male Podcast and newsletter that I read every single Sunday, which is fucking awesome. He is the founder and former CEO of Team Baby Entertainment, and he is currently crushing it in the world of performance and lifestyle coaching. His name is Greg Scheinman. He is an unbelievable specimen of the human man in his 40s. And I mean, I follow this guy on Instagram. We've had a lot of opportunities to connect and chat. He's really an inspirational dude, and whatever he's doing, we should all want some of, because he's really an incredible guy and takes his fitness, health, and wellness very seriously. Greg, welcome to the show, man.
Wow, Michael, thank you so much. I feel like we should I don't know if I can live up to that. So I think anything I could say from now on may just screw that up. So that was so great. I'm humbled by that. The feeling is mutual, man, on all of it. Thank you.
You know, I loved over the pandemic, you and I were both spending lots of time in our ice baths, and I loved watching you in your ice bath speak very calmly to your Instagram stories. It was like I was like heavily impressed that you'd be like in your bath, like 3 minutes in, with your winter hat on, speaking to the camera as if you were sitting on the beach in Miami. So that was impressive, man.
Thank you. My head was in Miami, like trying to be, and the actual speaking made sitting in there somewhat bearable, almost. Yeah. And you know, over time, you know, just consistency and habits. You talk about it every day. 30 seconds turns into a minute turns into 2. You know, and you just try to get a little bit better each day.
You know what's so interesting for me, and I know that we're just sort of kicking it right away, but like, the ice bath I approached the ice bath similarly to the way I approach almost everything in my life. And I think you probably do the same. I was never the 30-second ice bath guy. I was the out the gate, like 5-minute ice bath guy, because I just basically said to myself, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to fucking do it. And I'm going to get all the benefits, and I'm going to do it right away, and I'm not going to ease into it. And that's probably like my extreme, you know, personality or the way I approach things. But the cool thing about the ice bath, and I don't think I'm unique, is that after about a minute of absolute pain, your body goes numb for the most part, outside of maybe your toes, where they can kind of linger on for about 1.5 to 2 minutes where they hurt. But after that, I could sit in there forever. I could sit in there for 10 minutes. And I know I'm not unique. I know a lot of people that say, like, once you break through, and everybody's threshold's a little different, but once you break through that threshold, which happens somewhere between 1 minute and 2 minutes, you can kind of just acclimate to the environment, which is so interesting.
You definitely can, and we can geek out on this, I'm sure for a while. I am not as tough as you. I am not as extreme as you there. I do have to kind of crawl, walk, run with a lot of this stuff, and get to a place where I feel comfortable. One of the guys I do follow a lot and I listen to, you listen to Jay Ferrugia, Renegade?
Yeah, I love Jay. Jay's a buddy.
Minimum effective dose. I love Jay's concept of minimum effective dose. I've kind of adopted that if 10 reps will get it done, great. You don't need to do 20. If 3 minutes will get you the maximum results of cold exposure, the same as 5 or 7, you don't necessarily need to go as long. So I've been playing around with that concept for a while now. Again, particularly at my age, with what's the minimum effective dose of things that I can get the results I want that free up the other time for me to do the rest of the shit I have to do and want to do.
I like that philosophy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that sounds good. I probably overdo it in everything that I do. Like I absolutely do.
We're all over indexing. There's no doubt. But hey, it's clearly working for you. So I have more questions for you than you could probably throw out at me. So.
Well, look, man, I think you listen to the podcast. We have a really good time here. The idea is to talk about whether or not you think you were born to do what you do and to get to where you've gotten, or if you were made over time. Yeah. Essentially the nature nurture conversation, right? And I think you're the 73rd guests I've had on the show.
Congrats.
Thank you. I don't think that there is a right or wrong answer necessarily, although there might be some scientific data on it. However, it's really interesting to get people's perspectives, and that's why I love this show so much. And the way we get to the answer is we go into your story and you sort of give us your story, and I stop you along the way if I'm inspired by something that you say, or if I think that there is a great moment in your story where it could potentially point to whether this born or made question. So let's dive in, man. Let's learn about Greg Scheinman from as early as you want to go back, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. First of all, I love the name and I love the concept. Like born or made, it completely resonates with me. And even thinking about coming on, I just wrote down that I love the name, and it really makes you think, are we born into this, or how do we shape, how do we evolve, are we made? And what's the combination of both? So I believe it's a combination of both. I feel incredibly fortunate to have been born into my family and blessed. I've got 2 younger brothers, who I love deeply. My mother is wonderful. My father passed away when I was 17. So my other brothers were 8 and 14 at the time. So we grew up, privileged on the North Shore of Long Island. And until I was 17, there was no hardship whatsoever. Completely, you could only go down, from where we were. And we went down, I went down when my father passed away. That was a really dark and tough time there. And you could go a few ways with this. You could, again, move forward, try to make yourself into something or other things. There was no business to go into anymore. I was getting ready to leave for college. Had no idea what I wanted to fucking study or do. Personally, I was a mess. Didn't have an advisor, a mentor, a father figure. And my brothers were too young, in a lot of ways too. So you could go a number of different ways. I ended up going to the University of Michigan. So I left New York. I knew I wanted to get out of New York. I just wanted to go to the biggest school I possibly could. Completely out of touch with reality. Nobody watched over me, while I was there. Had a great time. It's amazing I got through. But, that was the first experience kind of from being born to thinking about what am I going to make of myself at that moment. And then, subsequently, my brother who I'm close with, and this is private, got into some trouble and spent some time in prison to deal with that situation and the effects on the family name. You talk about being born, we all share the same last name, reputation, character, experiences, all of that. So when I started thinking a lot about death, started thinking a lot about loss of freedom, and how to make the most out of life. Two things: you don't want to die, and I don't want to lose my freedom. Those are two pretty big things. So where am I going to go from there? And I just felt like there was a big opportunity for me to do whatever I wanted to do, good, bad, or indifferent. And at a certain point in time, it was time to focus on being as good as I could possibly be, if that makes sense.
Do you remember a moment where you said, "This is my time"? Or
yeah, it's such a great question. I got out of college and I thought I wanted to be in the entertainment business. My goal initially was to produce a film and dedicate it to the memory of my dad. And I was fortunate enough to do that a couple of years outside of college. I graduated Michigan. I went to work at Miramax Films in New York. Literally was Harvey Weinstein's assistant for 2 years. It was
with Eli Holzman or no?
So Eli was working for Scott Greenstein shortly after I got there. Eli's incredible. And I had a very short stint there.
Did we ever have that conversation?
We did very, very briefly I think we had spoken about the meatball shop and insurance and the firm that I was with. And when I transitioned there, and it was Daniel and Eli, and we kind of touched base on that a little bit, small world. Eli's terrific. I had a very short stint there. My claim to fame was, telling Harvey to fuck off 20 years before the Me Too era. That I'm pretty proud of, overall. But to your question directly, I made that film. I was able to dedicate it to my dad. I just remember one day on set that I was completely hungover. I just showed up completely hungover, completely ineffective that day. And here I was kind of responsible for this. We raised the money for it. We're doing this great film. There are all these people out there. And I was like just unfit to work. And when you think about fitness, like the definition of fitness is, fit for duty. And that was a day like I showed up completely unfit. And I was like, it was so like the dichotomy of trying to make something to honor the memory of my father and then to just show up in such a shitty way. That was a day like this has got to get kind of turned around, there. And I didn't get it right for a while either, but that's definitely a day that I remember.
How old were you?
I was probably 23, 24. I'm 48 now. And it was one of those be careful what you wish for things too. Like entertainment's not my thing, not for my personality, in there too. So it just created an opportunity to try to be better personally and professionally and try to be more authentic, to practice what you preach. So that was the day.
And so that day, something clicked and fitness became part of your life. Was that sort of the day when things started to shift towards the life you live today?
So it was always part of my life. I was bullied a little bit in middle school. Some of the high school kids would come down, and pick on me. It was a little cocky. I guess I liked the girls and all that. I was a good target, in Great Neck, Long Island to get picked on a little bit over there. So I did start picking up some weights, did a little teenage bodybuilding type stuff in those all natural competitions, New York, New Jersey, around there. And then I fell off drastically, like through college and after. And I think you don't really realize, I don't think I realized it until kind of really take a look in the mirror one day and go, like, the guy you're staring back at you is just not who you are, or who you think you are. But it had always been there. But the real kind of recommitment to fitness was really in the last 12 to 15 years. There was a gap period there where it wasn't a high priority of my life. You get married, you have kids, I'm still healthy, we're trying to be, working on various businesses and careers, and it wasn't the integral part of my life. I think I had some of my priorities mixed up a little bit, not the family one, but some of the professional stuff. It wasn't as integral a part of my life as it really is now. And probably the last 10 to 12 years or so, where it is a lifestyle. I know you've talked about it. It's a lifestyle, and it helps keep me centered, make me a better husband, make me a better father. And I think it's made me a better professional.
So you made a film that you dedicated to your father. You decided that the entertainment business was not for you. What next? Like, what was the next step for you?
Yeah, because you know what you kind of do when you realize that something's not for you, like you just do more of it. So I did like 2 more films, worked for a couple of entertainment companies because that's what I knew at the time. And then really after that, I had met my wife at the Sky Bar of the Mondrian Hotel while we were trying to sell one of these films that I had produced. And ultimately, she was from Houston and I was from New York. And it was, if this is going to work, we need to be in the same place, for a while. So we spent some time in Miami together. I was working still in entertainment, and then decided we were going to move to Houston, Texas. And that's where she's from. We've been in Houston almost 20 years, right now. And it was a great opportunity for me to be anonymous, to kind of start over, to not feel any pressures of New York in a way, and history, to really come down here with a clean slate, with somebody who was incredibly grounded, really smart, and it was again helping me. And we wanted to start our life together and raise our family, have a family, where family was around also. And my wife's family, was here. So it was an easy decision for me to get down here. Once we got here, I had no idea what the fuck I was going to do.
I think this is an interesting topic. So you decided to shift your life over to Houston, Texas. And Houston, Texas, coming from Great Neck, Long Island, could not be more of a different environment, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can only imagine the culture shock being like, holy smokes. So were you consciously like aware of your decision to go down there to start from scratch? Or was it like, hey, let's go, and then you got down there and you're like, oh, this is my opportunity to start from scratch? And I asked it because I wonder if that's a solution for some people, right? If things are not happening the way they'd like them to happen, geographically in a place, does it make sense for somebody to just have the courage to just say, you know what, I'm going to go try to live somewhere else and see if it inspires me?
Maybe, first of all, it's like a super astute observation. Whether or not you're totally familiar with the North Shore of Great Neck of Long Island or Manhattan or Texas, the differences are galactic. Like you just nailed it. There. It was a conscious decision for me that I needed some distance. I needed space. Not that there's anything wrong. Like, I'm a lover of New York City in a lot of ways. I'm a lover of Long Island there. But there also were not, for me, I needed some space. There were some memories. There were some reminders. There were some things, for me that just didn't feel great.
Like what?
Again, my father passing away, some stuff with my brother. Everybody that I kind of grew up with, like, knew everything, like I felt like there was a lot more to prove. There was a lot more pressure, there. It felt like I would be conforming in a lot of ways. Like there's a lot of like, we're kind of doing the same thing in the same places. Even when I go back now to an extent, it's a little bit of like, holy shit, like everyone's kind of still here, like you're doing this overall. And I needed some space. I needed to get away from that. I wanted to see what else was out there. And I didn't feel like there was anything that was really holding me there. And if I didn't take the chance, and now I'd met this woman, like I would never do it, and I would regret it. And I didn't want to have regret. I was also working backwards from a timeline of 47. Not to go like, that's when my dad passed away. He was 47. And I was like, I want 40. If I get to 47, like anything past that is like the bonus time. I want to make as much of this as I possibly can. So I didn't think I had anything to lose. I thought I had a lot to gain. So take the shot. Whether that's right for anybody else, I couldn't say. I would challenge people or offer people to take risk, take calculated risk, try to think about what fills your tank, does it, and not empty it, where you feel positive, where you feel authentic. And you can always go back,
Mhm.
I think you can always get a job, like you want to try entrepreneurship, try it. Okay. You can always, sure, if you're capable, you're a capable person, you'll be able to get a job again. You want to try living in Florida or Costa Rica? Okay. If you can do it, you can always go back. At least that's what my feeling was. And I've just been fortunate that we're happily settled here, and it's home for my boys. And it's worked out.
Sounds like it's worked out. All right. So you moved down to Houston, and then what? And you made a complete career shift.
Yeah. Well, it was a little bit of an evolution. You've got like two of the cutest boys I've ever seen. Like your kids are so freaking adorable. I was watching them fishing.
I gotta tell you something, man. Look, as you know, I'm like a pretty intense athlete, and I've been an athlete my whole life. And no one ever pushed me into sports ever. My father was an athlete when he was a kid, but he was definitely not an athlete as an older guy raising me. He paid no real attention to what I was doing. My mother was certainly not an athlete. And for whatever reason, I just naturally gravitated to sports, and I escaped into sports from as early as I can remember to when I started using drugs and drinking at a, unfortunately, very ferocious level. But prior to that, I was a dedicated athlete as a kid, and then I picked it back up as soon as I started to get my life back together.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my sons have not shown real signs of interest necessarily in sports, playing sports. However, I am also an avid and very, very, very grateful fisherman. And my sons have taken to that. I can't even describe it. First of all, being able to take my two little boys fishing with me is a dream come true. I just didn't think that I would have fishing buddies at this young of an age for them. It's so interesting to watch a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, not only just have fun fishing, but both of them have a natural ability to use the rod and reel. My 3-year-old son, I just posted a picture of my 3-year-old son. He's using a real fishing pole, and he goes out to the pond on our property and just fishes for 2 hours and catches fish, and then asks us to help him with it. But he knows how to hold. He looks like a fisherman. My older son Finn is he has the most incredible. There's a style in fishing, right? It's similar to anything, right? You see an amazing running back, you just wow, that guy really understands footwork. You see an amazing basketball player, Michael Jordan, really his just style and grace. And same thing goes for fishing and all sort of bowling, right? There's always a swag to it. People have style, and my 6-year-old son has just got crazy style, dude. It's wild, man. And they watched me fish, and I tried to help them enjoy it. I always said that I was never going to force anything on them. But man, it's just so interesting to see what people get excited about, at such a young age.
Yep. So I can listen to fathers talk about their kids all day. I say this, I genuinely hope every guy out there gets as much enjoyment out of spending time with their kids as I do with mine. And I just think it's the greatest. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. I really do. Maybe again, it's because I see it through that lens that I'm on quote unquote borrowed time, or I didn't get as much of it as I wanted to, with my dad. But whatever they're into, you mentioned like whatever they're into, like I just think being accepting of what lights them up, and finding those things. And you said it also, like not pushing them into things just because, I like them or whatever. Let them find themselves, shape themselves, try to lead by example, and see where it goes. But whatever excites them and whatever lights them up, that's what I want to be a part of, and that's what I want to encourage. I certainly want to provide advice or guidance or mentorship where I can. But I'm having a lot of fun, I'll tell you right now, learning from them too. I mean, look, my oldest will be 18 on Saturday.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. My youngest will be 15 in September. So they're not young, they're driving, they're driving around together. So just watching them grow and develop from the times that, again, they're holding a fishing rod or a ball for the very first time, to the fact that they're real young men right now with thoughts and opinions and experiences and all of these things of their own. So I just love all of it. Every phase has been a great phase. Maybe I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, but just to be the father of two boys, it's like everything I wanted, man. And it, you're living it right now too.
There's it's not talked about as much anymore as it was about 2 to 3 years ago. But I think for about 5 years, about 2 to 3 years ago, everybody was talking about balance. Like every podcast you'd listen to, every motivational speaker, balance, life work balance. And as a business owner, as an athlete, as a father, as a successfully married man, what is, and also a podcaster and a coach, what does balance mean to you? Like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I think balance is a very overused term. I balance is on my list, hustle and grind and all that, all this shit. I think those things are overused terms. I think everybody can deploy them however they want to all the time. And I think everybody receives them, very differently. I think at different stages of your life, there will be different degrees of balance. Certain priorities will usurp others, there. I try to keep it simple. Mm-hmm. I don't think there is any kind of perfect balance. If anything, I think perfect is the enemy of good. I think that, I talk about the 6 F's, to me, it's family first. Without a family, what am I doing any of this for? Then it's fitness, which to me is health. Without your health, what does it matter how much money you have? If you're too sick to enjoy your family, you're too sick to enjoy any of the fruits of your labor. Finance, pay attention to your shit and your business. Make sure you have enough money to do what you need to do the way you want to. And everybody's definition of success, is different. Food's my next one. I'm a huge foodie. I mean, obviously you are too. Food, nutrition, what you put into your body, flavors, colors, tastes, that's really important to me. Traveling and being involved in those experiences. Fashion is my next one. I like style. I want to look good. I want to feel good. I like the way things fit and feel, and that stuff matters to me. Not necessarily about spending a ton of money on it or being flashy or anything, but find shit that makes you feel confident, and rock it well. And then fun is because if you're not having fun, what the fuck is any of this for? Really. And maybe some of those are out of order. Again, to your point about balance, maybe that's out of order for some other guy. I mean, we just went through this. We just sold a big company, the insurance firm that I was with, we just sold a big company. And these transactional moments, these pivotal ones, they can be the beginning, they can be the end for some. It just depends on your perspective. You know, the guy that wants to be a billionaire, you hand him 100 million, he goes, I'm 900 away from my goal. The guy that wants to fish with his 2 boys, you know, and live a wonderful, beautiful life up in the country, fuck, 10 million's fine, like whatever, like 20, you know, as long as I can cover my expenses or whatever, you know, it just really depends on who you are and what you want to be, is the way that I see it. So everyone's balance, if that's a thing, is different. I do think you gotta buckle down at times and say, look, you know, there's a time here that I'm going to train my ass off for this bodybuilding contest, and that's going to be my number one priority. And there's a time I'm going to go open my restaurant. There's a time that I was cranking out videos and going to trade shows all the time and scaling shit, you know, to do it. And there's none. I'm staying home for like 6 weeks.
Want to hear something really interesting? So I struggled with this balance thing for a long time. You know, when I was launching my first business and launching my second business, and I did not, and I was, you know, I mean, look, I still feel like I'm a kid. I launched my first business when I was pretty young, but I was married, and I hadn't had kids yet. And I was green as, you know, a pine tree. I mean, I was as green as they come launching my first business. So I thought that I just needed to outwork everyone. I just thought that it was imperative that I'm the first one in, last one out. And even if I didn't need to be there, I was there always. And I didn't take a day off for almost 18 months. I remember the first time we left the restaurant when the place was open. And as I've gotten older, I've learned how to combat this balance question. And what it's come down to for me is understanding what the ideal outcome is. And for me, it's being happy with my family. The ideal outcome is ultimately enjoying time with my family and making them feel safe and secure and supported and like loved. That's like my ideal outcome. And working around the clock, that does not come anywhere close. Even if I'm making $10 fucking million an hour, it's not going to garner that result. So what I've learned to do over the years is surround myself with really great people that believe in what I am trying to accomplish. And that is, and they all know it, to have amazing times with my family. And so it's really interesting when I start a company or I'm running a business and, I'll hire somebody and say, I just want to let you know that like my number one ideal and outcome in life is to be happy with my family. And they're like, why are you telling me that? And I'm like, because I'm bringing you on this team so that we can obviously work really well together, but so you understand what this is all about. This is not about making the most money in the world for me. This is not about, working everybody to the bone so we can all fucking cry and complain about how much we work. This is about ultimately, if my goal is to be able to spend time with my family and enjoy that, that is ultimately your goal as well.
Mm-hmm. I call it reverse engineering, which is the way I started to look at things, which is you have that goal and you say, and now we're going to work backwards from there. And I have a very similar goal to that too. I am looking for quality of life, which puts my family first. I went through the order of which I kind of function on things. And I write out what my perfect or my ideal day looks like, what my priorities are, what I really want out of life, what it's going to cost in a way to do these things, what I have to prepare for to be responsible. This all goes back again to my dad without his planning, and frankly, my family would not have been in the position that it was to mourn and still effectively move forward. So I've always taken those responsibilities, very seriously too. And then for me, I just reverse engineer it. I go backwards. Okay, then how much time do I need to spend, on this? How much time do I have to work out? How many games are my kids playing in? Am I coaching? Am I spectating? Is everything on the calendar? And where's the open space, for us to have fun or travel or do family dinners? Or when do I need to put those extra hours in to work? Or can I surround myself with people that can help me with any of this? And I'm a late bloomer. I didn't figure a lot of, I still don't have things figured out, but I didn't get a lot of this stuff early on. Remember, I didn't have the advisors. I didn't have the mentors. I didn't have the father figure around. I didn't realize how important other people were to your success, to your network, to your support structure, to helping you accomplish your goals. I thought you had to do it on your own. I thought you had to be right all the time, that if you were the CEO or the founder or the boss or whatever, you were constantly in competition, like with everybody around. Like, it was very adversarial for me in tons of situations for a very long time because I had it all backwards. So I think I'm a real late bloomer to all of this.
So you say you had it all backwards. So because this is a great piece of value for the listener. What does it mean to you now?
Growth comes from experience. That's something you also start to appreciate as you get older. I think I rushed through a lot of things early. Oh man, like, I didn't appreciate college, when I was in it, push through it. Like everything was rushed. What it means to me now is that this next phase of life that's ahead really is the best phase. And it can and it should be. We're living longer, healthier, better, wealthier. The experiences that I've had in my earlier years have positioned me to be better in this next phase. Like, I believe the middle is the sweet spot. This connotation that like midlife should be a crisis and should be boring, okay, and should be a conundrum and should be the beginning of the end. I think we got to flip that shit, man. I think we do. I still feel extremely young, extremely vibrant. And now I have all this knowledge and all these mistakes and all these learning experiences and all these things. I've got a better relationship with my wife, which I didn't even know. Like we could continue.
I want to dig into that. I think that is, I really want to talk about that. I really want to talk about successful marriage, because I think that is something that not everybody listening is going to appreciate, because not everybody listening is married. But I think you've been married how long now?
Oh shit, over 20 years. I probably will screw up the date exactly. But we've been married like 24 years. We're together for like 26 or so, on there. Again, Kate, I guess she's 52. I'm 48. So I married a little bit of an older woman, extremely vibrant, like the most secure individual I know, that helps me keep my head screwed on straight. Wherever you want to go with marriage, I'm happy to do it. It's certainly, marriage is hard. Marriage is
but you've been married for a long time, and yep. I look, I obviously know that pictures don't say everything, but when I see you, I'm inspired by the amount of sharing you do about your family, and when you go on vacation, the amount of pictures you take with your wife, just the two of you. It's really inspiring, man. Because I too, I got married young, and we're married now 14 years and together 16. And so I question, what do you believe and let's not even say marriage, just successful relationship. Like, what do you think it requires for long-term success in relationships?
Yep. I don't want this to sound cliche, but she's my friend, and she's become a better friend over the years. And I don't have a lot of friends. a lot of great friends. I don't let a lot of people in. I've experienced loss. I've had my own alcohol issues. I've had my own drug issues. I have my own insecurity issues. I have my own mommy and daddy issues. And she got in, and she's my friend. And because I enjoy her company, I feel secure around her. I don't feel like I have to be around a whole lot of other people, to, let's say, tolerate her or put up with her, or to extend, a lot of couples go out a lot, and the guy sits at one end and the woman sits on the other end. And we don't do a whole lot of that, kind of stuff. I like spending time with her overall. And she's a great mom. And over the years, we've also developed very much our own routines, our own habits, the things that we do together, the things that we do separately. And that's been extremely helpful. We do have a lot of the same interests, but I think we respect that, our differences as well. And like anybody else, we go at it, but we're family. Like that's I'm being friends, like we're family. And I think that commitment is taken very seriously. That, yeah, we're working it out. Like there's nothing here that's not going to trump the friendship. That's not going to trump the fact that we're family. It's never going to come before us or come before our boys. And we've made the time, I think, of late, especially as the boys have gotten older, to carve out some more time for ourselves. There.
What does that look like?
Man, I think you got to date your wife still. I mean, if you're still into each other, and I hope you are, you want to reclaim that. I think you got to date your wife. You got to want to date your wife. Whether it's breakfast or whether it's dinner or whether it's a trip to just the two of you, or whether it's just, something, you got to find the time, you got to find the space to put each other first in there. I think the kids see that and do, like mom and dad, happy.
What's so funny? You say that, man.
Like I did, like with my parents. I mean, it wasn't great, like we know when things are great. We know when they're not.
I have so much identification with you there, man. Like, my wife too is my absolute, without a question of a doubt, she's my best friend. I would rather spend time with my wife than anyone else. That's just the truth. I look forward to, putting my kids down, and then after my kids go down at around 7:45, I get to just hang out with my wife from like 8 to 10 when we go to bed. And I look forward to that every single day. I look forward to just being with her. I really do. And, and I would also say that one thing that I think is really great that you mentioned that I find to be so interesting is, every morning I make it my priority to kiss my wife in the kitchen when she's making breakfast, right? And whenever one of my kids catches me kissing Donna, literally, they'll run over and they'll come and give us a hug. And that is like, you could look at it as, oh, that's so cute. Or you could look at it as, this is us showing our children that love is real and that it feels good.
I think absolutely. I think they completely pick up on it. It's back to, again, just leading by example. What's genuine, what's authentic, what comes naturally to you guys. You can't fake any of that stuff. And look, as committed as we are, I'm also, if you're unhappy and it's not working, okay. Like I'm not saying that's not the right thing to do. There's a high percentage of marriages that end in divorce. I know guys, again, unfortunately, because statistically, again, at 48, I know a lot more people that are getting divorced than I do that are certainly getting married. And if they're getting married, they're getting remarried, now overall. think you have to do what is right for you. I don't think you should stay in something per se that's, doesn't make you guys happy, overall. I certainly think people should try, as hard as they possibly can. But I'm real fortunate that I found, that I found the right person, and I tell my boys, I've been writing this list for like a week, man. I probably love to get your insight. I would definitely love to get your insight on it. Because as I said, my son's turning 18. So I've been writing this list of advice, if you will, whether they're quotes, whether they're advice, my experiences, this list, that I want to pass down to him. My dad was a big letter writer also. So I've got some of the letters that he wrote me. They're framed, they're on my wall before I went to college, before he passed, other things. I've been working on this list. And on there is your point about respecting women, learning to respect women, the physical aspects and attributes. It's wonderful, beautiful women. We're going to look at them. We're going to want to be with them. But the physical is also not really where it's at too. The heart, the character, who they are, do they support you? The things that are going to extend an actual relationship, that are there. And then also, to your point, having children with the right woman, marrying the right woman. These are life. I mean, you're going to be attached for life. You don't want to have children with the wrong person. I mean, so these are decisions you've got to make carefully. And our boys are growing up in a whole different time, than we were too.
Yeah.
So if that answered your question, my take on relationships and marriage and being the father of two boys.
Well, the last thing that I want to say on it, because I think it's an important one, and one that I not only apply to my marriage, but I think my marriage is probably the most successful example of it. But I apply to every other relationship I have, really. And I'm similar to you, where I have a hard time, because I lost my father at 20 and I did not have a good relationship with him. And I've suffered loss in my life. So I have a hard time letting people in. I just do. And it's certainly something I'm working on all the time. I'm always trying to just be more open to letting people know. I have a lot of, people that I love being with and hanging out with, but letting somebody in is a challenge for me in many cases. But I will say that the most important piece of the puzzle, I believe, in our relationship is communication, fearless communication, because, I grew up in a household where communication was not good. And my parents, though they did their best, they tended to hold things in for way too long, and then it would just explode and everybody felt it. And I think that could be, that happens in any relationship where people do not communicate on a regular basis. My piece of advice for great relationships, and anybody that listening that, I really stand behind this, is the discomfort that one feels when they want to express a feeling or an emotion to their partner is going to be far less painful than holding it in, building it up, and letting it explode, and potentially catastrophic explosion. The way my wife and I communicate is all the time, constantly, no matter what it is. She cannot hide from me, and I cannot hide from her. If there is something off or wrong, it's rare that we don't express it immediately. But if it's held onto for maybe a little bit longer than it should, one of us are going to say, "Hey, what is going on? Please divulge what's happening." And there's a level of discomfort in that moment, right? Where you could say something that's bothering you, like, for instance, in the pandemic. This is a good one. I work, I'm a working guy, just like you, right? Like, I leave the house at 8:00 in the morning. I typically don't get home till 7:00 at night, something like that, 7, 8. And so my wife had a lot of time without me, 5, 6 days a week. When the pandemic happened, I was home more than I've ever been home, like all the time. We never left. And so she started noticing things about me that bothered her. Like, she said that I would go like this And she finally, I looked at her at breakfast one morning and I was like, what's up? And she was like, I have to say it. I don't know. I can't, I know it's not your fault, but I just have to tell you this. And I was like, what? And she was like, I cannot stand this thing that you've been doing that I started to notice. And it's driving me absolutely fucking crazy. And I don't know what to do. And I was like, oh shit. Like, and then I started paying more attention to it. And I was like, oh wow, I do kind of do that. But I didn't know it happened subconsciously, you know? Mm-hmm. And had she never said that, a little thing like that could potentially lead to a divorce, actually, you know?
These things are all connected. And yeah, as you're saying, okay, well, you know, even the things that were on the list, and I go back and go, okay, you know, you need to live together first. You should travel together before you commit, before you do all these things, you know, like don't rush into any of these things, because these little idiosyncrasies, you know, these little, everybody is different on there, but you're spot on about, I mean, look, spending so much time together when you traditionally haven't. We've dealt with that too. I mean, look, the last 2 years, I've never been home as much in my life. Of course, nobody has, and you're all over each other. We have a small place, you know. There's 2 dogs, 2 boys, my wife and I. We're all, there's no escaping each other, you know. There, so that tests, you know. It definitely does. There's a lot of time for me in the garage. Let's put it that way.
Me too. You know, you mentioned that you wanted to get as much life in as you could before you were 47, because your father passed away at 47, and that was just a number that really sort of stood out in your mind. Now that you're 48, and you've passed that threshold, what does your mindset look like now?
Yeah, it's another great question. I feel proud and content with some of the things I've done in my past. You know, you asked, you know, we were going back to, I think before we even got into relationships, was you get to Houston, you know, and then what do? You know, I was fortunate to, you know, we had our first son. I was fortunate to start a company down here, which I don't think I could have ever done if I was in New York, you know, capital wise and time wise. And I had some success. I was able to fortunately sell that business, and then join another business and went more conservative, and had our second child. So I feel like professionally, you know, I've shot my shot at a few things and have learned a lot there. And my 47th birthday was a big one, you know, heading into bonus time. And now I feel like, I mean, I said it before, like this next phase is going to be the best phase. I feel like a weight has been lifted, you know, off of my shoulders, that this benchmark, if you will, justified or not, or self-imposed or whatever it was, has been lifted, that I'm doing the things day to day to try to make myself better, you know, for me and for everybody around me. And I do genuinely believe we're going to live longer, we can live better, we can live healthier. And, you know, sure, I get hit by a bus tomorrow and all the fitness in the world, you know, is going to stop it. So I do want, like, hey, have the cheeseburger, man, you know, like when you want it. But just try to do the right thing. Try to do what feels right. I want to be creative. I want to make a difference. I want to help men maximize middle age and achieve a better quality of life. This started out as a passion project, as a whim. I mean, it just started one Sunday morning. I just started writing. I usually get up early on Sunday and kind of meditate a little bit, make a few notes, drink coffee. And about 2 years ago, okay, just stuck it on a blog. Basically, you know, like I create a blog, you know, it's like a tree falling in the woods at that point. Nobody's fucking reading this or hearing this at all. You know, and one Sunday morning turned into a habit. You know, you are the king of habits, right there. You are, and it's so true. Consistency and habits and discipline that creates freedom. And one Sunday turned into 2, turned into 3, and here we are like 163 Sundays later. 57,000 words I found out yesterday.
Wow.
And I'm not a writer.
You certainly are, dude.
We have a book, and I had a book coming out, okay, next year. Right now we're at 57,000 words. We're working on cutting it, okay? And I just kind of feel like that's a metaphor right now for life, that we can take back as men some of the things that we have lost over time. And we should. I can't remember what I was listening to the other day, but it really struck a chord. It was like, I think I was watching Nomadland on the plane. You ever see that movie Nomadland with Francis McDormand?
My best friend and his father are both in that film.
Wow. Okay. So that I don't know what made me watch this on the plane. I was coming back from Utah. I'd spent a weekend in the woods, literally with my thoughts and rain beating down in this tent overall and not out there. And I ended up watching Nomadland on the back, which was maybe the last thing I needed after having too many thoughts in my head from the whole weekend anyway. But it came up in the movie. This woman said, she was saying to a friend, like, I don't want to die with my sailboat parked in the driveway. You work for 20, 30 years. You buy the sailboat. You can't wait to retire and go out to sea and live this next phase of your life. And then it doesn't happen.
I don't want to die with the sailboat parked in my driveway. I absolutely love that, man. That is so
good. I
did
too. And I was like, wow, like that's it. Take the trip, take the gap year, buddy, if that's what you want to do. Okay. Take the shot. My grandma used to say, like, coffins don't have pockets. It was very similar to that. Be smart. Don't be irresponsible. We got to have enough runway to get where we're going,
my grandfather always, and my grandfather lived to 98. He was a naval officer. He was an entrepreneur. And he would say to me after, because he saw what was going on in my life in terms of, the businesses. Before the businesses, when I was a maniac, he didn't really have much to say to me. But as soon as I got things together, he was very influential. And he used to say to me all the time, slow down, kid. You're running too fast. And I understand that now. And that is, don't die with the sailboat in the driveway.
Whoever wrote that line, it's such a good line.
So good.
Home. So you ask about like where I want to be. I'm enjoying making plans. I'm enjoying the journey right now. I'm loving this aspect of talking to guys like you. I'm loving this aspect of communicating with guys that are going through their own challenges, and how maybe I can add some value and maybe I can help. I'm enjoying the writing and creative process again. And I'm also learning, where I've screwed a lot of shit up, where I'm not happy, what doesn't feel right. And I write it all down, actually, which I mean, this Sunday mornings, whatever else it is. And I really got to spend time reflecting on it, going back and reading it sometimes, going, yeah, like you're not doing that anymore, or you should be doing more, or that. So I'm excited. I'm scared as shit too. I mean, my boys are getting older. One's going to go to college very soon. We're going to be empty nesters, in a few years. But we're also having some fun with where we may want to be living and where we may want to be going. And I
think it's incredible to talk to someone like you, who's in the best shape of his life, has had great success, started businesses, sold businesses, has a great marriage, has a wonderful children, takes vacations, has the burger when he wants it. Like, it's just, and is 48 years old and is saying that his life is just about to begin. I think that is, or not just about to begin, but the next chapter of his life is going to be the best.
It's great to hear. I appreciate you saying that. I hear that back. And this, for all the guys out there, like, it still makes me uncomfortable There are guys. There are guys out there with more money. There are guys out there in better shape. There are guys out there that have just as good a relationship, if not better. I mean, there's always, you know what I mean? There's always somebody with more. You said about slowing down. Do less with more focus is what one of my good friends and another restaurateur says. That I don't want to compare. I want to stop to compare. I don't want to feel like, oh, is that really true or not true? I just want to feel good with where I am and where I'm going. Does that make sense?
100%. It makes total sense. My wife is Danish, and I've spent a lot of time in Denmark. My whole entire wife's family is there, and as we all know, they're a socialist society, and everything is pretty much equal there. I mean, there's obviously homeless people and super wealthy, but like the vast majority of the people in Denmark are very happy living a much more calibrated, less rat racy kind of lifestyle. And they're fucking happy. They're fucking happy. My mother-in-law, she works like 3 hours a day. She has a really wonderful little house, and she has a garden behind it. And she's just like the happiest woman. I mean, she's just, she's got her shit too, but like I think I am cut from I really do believe I was born with this entrepreneurial thing where it's going to be hard for me to really slow down. But I'm telling you, man, like I have definitely like consciously made an effort to stop trying to win the war. I still want to win the battles. I still go out there to win the battles, but like I don't need to win the war, and I'm cool with that. I want to ask you a few more questions because we don't have a lot of time. I said it before, like you are in exceptional shape, and I don't want to say for your age because I'm not much younger than you, and I feel like age doesn't really play a role in my life. I still lift and do all the things that I did when I was 22, exactly the same way, actually better. So fitness wise, what does your fitness plan look like? Like, what is your fitness routine?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. Every Monday I take every Monday off. There's a lot of this never miss a Monday stuff out there. I miss every Monday, so like one of my principles is I miss every Monday. If the masses are going towards never miss a Monday, then I miss every Monday. The reason I go hard on the weekends, I go hard on the weekends now because I've got more time on my hands. I'm not thinking about, work as much, my kids sleep in a little bit later, or if they want to join, great. I'm a generalist, not a specialist at all. I like to do different things constantly. So, for me, Monday is an off day. I focus on work. Tuesday is really a strength day. I'll typically drop in to my guys' gym in Houston called Congo. These two brothers, Dos and Taj Khan, they're awesome. And it's hardcore, over there. A lot of athletes, retired athletes. That's my throwdown session, which is cool. Wednesdays, a little bit of a more active recovery, maybe a walk, maybe a bike ride, maybe a swim in there. One thing I do is take more rest than I ever have, from a recovery standpoint that I've figured out. Thursday's a boxing day. So, I was boxing this morning at 7. My guy Will comes over and we go at it. And my son is joining us now every week, which has been cool for months. So watching him develop there too and talk a little shit is fun. That's Thursday. Friday again is a little bit more of an active recovery day. Again, bike, swim, yoga, maybe some light weight work, band work, something, whatever I want to do in the garage. And then Saturdays we play. I'm typically in the parking lot. I live across the street from a parking lot, which, because I had owned a gym years ago that was in the shopping center, and we bought a house basically right across the street so I could be real close to it before. And I don't own the gym anymore, but the parking lot is still there. So typically Saturdays, like I'm putting my sled in the parking lot. We're dragging shit. We're throwing some heavy stuff around, kind of high rocks style. If you're familiar with that competition, in there, a lot of push pull, functional stuff. And then Sundays, I've gotten really into these XPT, like these pool workouts, these Laird Hamilton style workouts, the running underwater with weight, the breath work under there. So that's kind of my schedule.
I hope everybody's taking notes because this dude is in supreme shape. What is your nutrition like?
Like an 80-20 rule. Like I'm a function and I'm a function and feel, guy. First of all, you understand where you are. Like I get my physicals done. I'm disciplined about getting my physicals. Great doctor. I want to get my blood work done. I want to get my physicals done. I want to know what my markers are. I want to know what my body responds well to. I want to know what it doesn't. Sorry, man, but I'm just not taking advice from people that don't have degrees. I want to seek out the best and the brightest and the smartest. I want to know kind of what I'm going to respond well to, what I'm not. And then I'm going to do that. Overall, like I'm a creature of habit. I eat a lot of the same things. You're not going to influence me with a lot of marketing. And buy this supplement or.
What do you eat? Like what are your go-tos?
Not as religious as you but breakfast is typically either like an oatmeal. With fruit. I've been copying your stuff. I mean, because I've added more. Now I never had cinnamon before until you started showing pictures with cinnamon on top. But I'm typically like an oatmeal guy. I put protein powder in it. Sometimes I'll put peanut butter in it or almond butter instead of the protein powder, whatever fruit we have in the house. And I usually will eat that in the morning. I'm a big coffee guy. I don't take any pre-workout. I drink coffee. ECAAs, creatine, athletic greens, like that's it for me in the mornings. Lunch is the last couple of years, like whatever we have in the house, basically could be a salad, could be a turkey sandwich. I eat way more carbs than most people think. I eat a ton of carbs. And my body does well, with carbs. My energy level does well with carbs. And then dinner's chicken, fish, beef, vegetables, sweet potato, like that kind of stuff. We make a lot of pizza in the Scheinman house. We make a lot of pizza. Homemade pizzas, boys eat a lot of pizza and everything, which I love. I'll just try to load up more vegetables and stuff on it. But if it's really quality dough, it's Kate's homemade sauce, it's fresh mozzarella, like I'll eat it. I just don't want to waste my calories on shit food. Like, again, I'm a quality over quantity guy. I do eat a lot. But if I'll eat the burger, but I want a really good burger. I'll eat the pasta, but I want like really good pasta from a great place. So that's, I don't really have a sweet tooth that much.
I wish I could say the same for myself.
Dark chocolate's kind of my thing. Like I could have a little dark chocolate and be kind of fine. Every once in a while, like I start craving sweets. I don't know why. And if I do, I just go with it. I have a feeling it goes away. But I'm not training for anything. I'm training for life. Like I don't need to be a certain body fat percentage. I don't need to be a quarter of a second faster. I don't need a 500-pound deadlift anymore. I'm not training for anything other than feel and to feel like I'm doing all right. So that's how I approach nutrition. But I just think if anyone else is out there, like, you got to find what works for you on all of these things and ask people that know what the fuck they're talking about, that are smart, that are smarter. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time, you're going to spend a lot of money, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to end up back to, kind of the beginning, which is, I should have started here.
Dude, this has been an awesome conversation, man. I really, really, really appreciate you hopping on. There's a lot of value in all this, all these things that we've discussed. And, I always finish the podcast with the question, whether Greg Scheinman thinks he is born or made.
I'm going to go with born.
All right.
Because, again, we started here, I'll end here. I am my father's son. That is top of mind to me all day, every day, year over year, to try to do the best I can to honor his memory.
I love it, man. I love it. Greg, you're an absolute wonderful, wonderful human being. I love the fact that I can call you a friend. If you guys are listening and you want to check out some really cool, really interesting podcasts that talk a lot about some of the stuff that we were talking about today, check out Greg's podcast, The Midlife Male. I was a guest on his podcast early on. He's also got an incredible newsletter that I really love, and he's got an insanely long list of things that he has discovered over the years that he uses in his life on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Really cool brands and really cool gadgets and workout tools and supplements and all sorts of great things that he's really become a creature of habit and using. So Greg, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I mean, the feeling is mutual. I really appreciate the kind words. It means so much, coming from you. And thank you for having me. And look, I'm gonna go listen to an episode of the Midlife Male podcast. Make it the one that you were on, okay? Because you were throwing out some serious gems there. So it's an honor and a privilege to come back and do this with you. Thank you.
Awesome, man. And guys, we'll have the Midlife Male podcast and a link to Greg's newsletter in the show notes. Greg, you're the fucking man. I love you to death, dude. Keep crushing it. Keep inspiring us. And another 48, my man.
You got it. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Man. Later.